Now we're live. The phone is oriented sideways. It doesn't have a problem with it.
Oh.
Let's see, where is...
We're live right now?
We should be live right now, yeah. We just gotta wait for the Facebook to pop out and be like, hey, you're live. So,
There's that cool video of Mr. McNeil doing clap push-ups.
hold on, let's okay, talk amongst yourselves while we're getting this going.
Oh,
What
look,
are we gonna...
there it is.
Where? What?
It
Where?
says we're live now.
Where did you see that?
Right there.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I just did that. Oh, we have 3 viewers. Who's watching?
Probably us and us.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's awkward. Wait, like, click it and then see if, like, we can see the comments and stuff. People can ask questions.
Comment and like below, guys, if you're watching
if you
this.
have any questions, try and,
like it.
Oh, a 4th viewer.
And
see, that
comment below. Let us know that you're watching.
Yeah, I'm watching it.
This.
Can you click it?
Uh,
Let's see who's watching.
okay, recording up there.
Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
This is so cool.
Well, if you guys are watching, do us a favor and before we officially start Teriyaki Tuesday, like and put a comment below so we know who we are.
And
Okay.
who's watching?
And and who's watching? And
Oh,
if you
now
have
we
any-
have 3 viewers. Bye, Felicia.
I guess that dialogue wasn't exciting enough. Okay, welcome back to Teriyaki Tuesday with Gibbons and Sifu Adlik. So, second podcast in a row. How's that for consistency? So now, today, what are we talking about today?
We're talking about first Mantis principle, strike first.
Right? The strike first principle, one of my favorites.
So how many Mantis principles are there?
Oh, there's a lot. Well, there's 12 character principles, right? But this one, strike first.
Is this the first?
Sure, let's say, yeah, sure. No, I don't think it's the first. It's an important one.
Okay.
All right, and it's not exclusive to praying mantis strike. To praying mantis kung fu, it's not exclusive, and we see it in things like when you watch the new Cobra Kai. You see strike first as part of the the Cobra Kai creed, which is very interesting because Cobra Kai is like notoriously the bad guys in the in the martial art world, but there's a lot of credibility there that people.
So why don't we first?
So, okay, start wherever you want. You start asking, and I'll start answering.
Okay, well, why don't we start with what strike first doesn't mean?
What strike first doesn't mean is being reactive, right? So, and this is where people get caught up on it, like having an uneasy feeling about this. It's hard to explain what it isn't because then you assume what it is.
Well, when
and it might
people
not
hear
be.
strike first, they think, oh,
Okay.
that's bad, right?
So strike first bad. Yeah, strike first means that you're attacking all the time. You're preemptively attacking, and if you don't like someone, you attack them. And if someone calls you a name, you punch them in the face, and that's bad. That's what like the Cobra Kais do, and although they don't do that. Well, the old Cobra Kai did.
Yeah.
Even though there's a very good argument that Daniel LaRusso actually did strike first, depending on whether you call it push or strike. Johnny Lawrence didn't actually hit him first. He shoved the stereo at him. Wasn't technically a strike.
Yes.
But anyway, strike first doesn't mean that you just hit people when you're angry. It doesn't mean that you lash out in anger. It doesn't mean that.
Doesn't mean you start a fight.
It doesn't mean you start a fight. It is not. It's not like an instigating movement. All right. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the martial application of strike first.
Okay, so the strike first principle at first, it is kind of, before you go into it deeper, it's what it sounds like. It means you hit the guy first before he hits you, okay? Which sounds like, well, that's not martial art because Kung Fu and martial art is supposed to be defense. Well, it is. It is defense, right? But you can't be, the flip side of that, you can't be overly reactive and trying to always react to what the other person is doing. If someone is going to be trying to hit you, and we have the old saying that, when you're defending yourself, 1 block is good, 2 blocks is a lot of skill, 3 blocks is luck. Meaning if someone's trying to hit you and they're throwing 3 strikes at you and you're only blocking them, you're going to get hit, right? No one is that good where they can't kind of block everything and you're going to get hit. So you've got to make sure that you're counter-attacking. And the earlier the better. The earlier you're going to increase your chance of successfully defending yourself, right?
So how does strike first apply? So let's maybe we should talk about
We can
But
go with
self-defense versus like a contest, like a fight versus a contest. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so that's a good point too, because when
Before
people
we get into the philosophical kind of aspects, let's
so in our system, yeah. So in Prey Mantis Kung Fu, and not only our system of Prey Mantis Kung Fu, but our system of holistic Kung Fu in general, right? We use Kung Fu for self-defense in a situation where our life is in danger. Now, when you've got that situation like that, you're typically in a situation where there's not a lot of rules or no rules in place, right? You're in a predator and kind of a potential victim situation. That's a self-defense situation. When we talk about fighting, that's what we're talking about. Everything outside of that is a contest, and a contest has different or a set of rules, whereas there's really no rules within an actual physical violent confrontation. There's no rules there. There's no way to say, well, hold on, you're not in my weight class, so back up. That doesn't happen, right? And typically it has someone who is a predator and then someone that predator perceives as prey, okay? And when you have that conflict, that's what we talk about when we talk about a fight or a self-defense situation. When you've got an agreement of rules, then it's not a fight in that sense, or it's not a violent act, or it's not a self-defense situation, because you've got that understanding. Okay, so when you've got a ring, for example, with a set number of rounds, well then we're not really talking about a fight for your life anymore, we're talking about a contest. So when we get into this, you've got to be really clear on what's a contest and what's a self-defense situation, right? So we're talking about the self-defense situation, not the contest, which changes how you respond, dramatically, right? You're in a realistic situation. You're probably not going to have even odds. Meaning you're not going to have weight classes that are going to even things out. You're not going to have a referee. You're not going to have a set of boundaries where that dictates where you can go and where you can't go. Where it dictates how many people can jump in, right? So as soon as you have some kind of agreement on rules, then it kind of makes a contest. And that's a whole other spectrum. So for example, someone is out, they're out at a social event. Let's say they're out at a bar, okay? And they spill someone's drink, and that guy yells at him, and he yells back, and they argue. And then one guy says, do you want to step outside? And he goes, yeah, fine. Okay, so as soon as they step outside, that technically, from this line of thinking that we're getting at, is a contest. It's a contest. There's a set of rules, right? There's like a gentlemanly set of rules that we're going to step outside and me and you alone are going to settle it. So there's kind of that understanding that it's only going to be this person and this person, right?
And they take off all the jewelry.
Yeah, and all that stuff. So a little bit of misunderstanding, So there's an understanding there that there's going to be rules and, whatever. Once someone's down or once someone taps, it'll be over, right? In a violent confrontation, you don't have those things, so it's a different thing. So when we talk about striking first, we're talking more about this. The situation is, it's going to happen. It's going to be violent. You can't afford to sit back and wait and not take control of that situation. So striking first means taking control of the situation. It doesn't necessarily mean punching first. It just means being active versus reactive. So it all comes down, and no matter how many different situations we talk about this, it all comes down to active versus reactive. So keep that in mind as we go through this discussion. Let's go.
Okay, so why does it work? Why does strike first work?
Because it takes whoever's acting and whoever's reacting. The person that's acting is going to have a speed advantage. Okay, so we have this thing we call the reaction distance line. Okay, so that's like if I'm here, I can't hit you. Okay, so I'm outside of your reaction distance line. But you know that if I'm here, I can hit you. Okay, now I can probably hit you from here faster than you can block. Back here, I can't. Okay, so if I move to hit you, if I move in, you see move, and then you can block. Okay, once I'm inside that line, you can't move fast enough to block my hand. Right? We can demonstrate it if you want. You want to do it real quick?
Sure.
Okay, so watch. So from here, okay, there she blocks. Okay, now from here, inside that reaction distance line, you see, she can't block. And that's just, and Miss Gibbons is fast, like, don't get me wrong, but it's just not possible because we're in that range. So when someone is in that range, you either have to be getting out of that range, or you have to be hitting, or you're gonna get hit. So once you enter that range, you have to be striking first to immediately give that person something to do before they hit you. Okay, so strike first principle just means that you want to put them on the defensive right away, so they have to be reacting to you, and you not reacting to them. Whoever has to react, it takes longer to react than it does to act. So whoever's acting is going to have the speed advantage. Okay. So if I were to move in on you, as soon as I move in, you're going to throw a hit. So now I have to do something. I'm not free to hit you. So that's how it works on a physical part. So you want to go into that more, or you want to?
Well, I was going to talk about some of maybe the drills that we used to teach that in class. To demonstrate it. I like the marble drill. With the where you have one person further away and one person closer.
Yeah, that's a cool drill too.
You can try this.
So you guys can try this while you're watching. We'll just do it with a piece of paper like this.
Yeah.
So basically, the way it works is.
So I'm here and you're like 2 feet.
And I'll be right up here.
So
okay.
I have to get the pen before him, but I can't move until I see him.
So once I react, she has to grab that. Now she's probably, even though she's technically closer, she can't get there before I can, right? Even if I'm further away, like way up here, hold on. When I'm way up here, I can still get there first because she has to react to what I'm doing. So the person who's acting versus reacting is always going to have, a huge speed advantage. Now, that doesn't mean, again, that you can't justify a violent action because you thought someone was gonna end up in a fight with you, but there's tells that are pretty good tellers. There's telegraphs, there's physical active. Like if someone's in your range and they're holding a fist like that and about to hit you, well then you've got to defend yourself. You don't have to defend yourself with a lot of force, but you've got to make sure you get your hands up, shove them back, whatever's justified. But there's a lot of, if we don't explain it, a lot of times the strike first. Most of our students are pretty mature enough to get what we're putting down, right?
So aside from actually hitting for self-defense, what other ways can you strike first?
The best way to do that is just to ask a question, right? So strike first, again, it's not like a small little part of that is the strike first principle is in physical combat. It's in how we control every confrontation, and confrontations can be even verbal, okay? So if you're harassing me in a certain way, I would just ask a question. Asking a question is a way of striking first, because now when you present a question to someone, even if they're trying to say something else, their mind has to stop for a second and consider that question. So it breaks their pattern. So if you're yelling at me to, I don't know.
Man, what are you looking at?
Yeah, whatever it is like that. And I say, I'm sorry, what do you want? And if I ask that question, they have to stop and they have to think about it. Even if they want to ignore it, they can't do it immediately. They have to kind of break their pattern in order to do that. So even asking questions is a good way to strike first. And if someone's not physically aggressive, that's the best way to keep them reacting to you. Keep asking questions. So that used to do
question game.
The question game, the question game on whose line was it? Whose line is it anyways?
I don't know.
There's this type of improv where that's the improv game. Is you just ask a question, respond to the question. That person has to respond to the question, and then so on and so forth.
And if you answer the question, you lose.
That's right. Yeah.
You can play that up.
Look at this.
Did it work?
Nope. Oh. Didn't work. So it looks like I'll be hitting that button every 12 minutes. Yeah. So, but that's a great drill for that. Just asking questions back and forth and forcing the person to come up with another question instead of react. Oh, I don't like that game. It's a good game, but I hate playing it.
Why do you have two jackets on?
What are you, a cop?
Who are you, comrade? Question.
Why can't you just let me sit with my two jackets on?
Why are you holding that pen still?
I can't. It's too stressful. It's too stressful a game.
That's the game.
That's it.
If you answer the question,
ask back and
or
forth.
if you repeat the same question.
It's a very stressful game. That's a game when in drama class that used to give me anxiety. But what was the question? Did we answer that? Oh yeah, what are small ways? And then a handshake, which is rare these days. People don't shake hands anymore. But if someone's kind of like, like sitting with body language that's kind of closed off, or you think you're trying to whatever, just start a conversation and go, hey, how's it going? Nice to meet you. And then that's striking first because you made an action. That person has to react to that action. That's another example of striking first. So a lot of ways to do that, to use this principle that are, the wiser you use it, people think it's like, well, you don't strike first, you don't punch someone in advance. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about being proactive. And the earlier you use it, the less likely it has to result in physical violence. If you're just asking questions, you can diffuse that situation before it escalates into something else. And if you offer a handshake, that could diffuse the situation before that escalates into something else.
Yeah, like always the one kid in class is like, what if they have a knife? What if they do this? What if they have a gun? What if they do this? Like, and it's like, well, yeah, you have to learn how to react to those situations. We're live.
Yeah. Sorry.
Do you need to take a break?
Do I?
I'll do something entertaining.
Okay, do something entertaining. Well, I gotta take my mic off. Hold on.
Okay.
Okay,
So,
I'll be right back.
we're getting the furnace
Do
fixed.
you have a key for that door so I can just lock it?
So does anybody have any questions for Sifu while you're on here? Let's see if I can see the comment section. Oh, hi, David and Chris. Oh. It's not a sucker punch, right? That's just kind of a D-bag move, right? Yeah. So, taken the wrong way, right? If you just hear strike first, then you get kind of a Cobra Kai version, right? Chris, this is for you.
Is it still going okay? Yep. Oh, I can see on here's who's watching.
Yeah.
It's Mrs. Jones is one,
Oh, hi, Mrs. Jones.
and then I can't see who else
Chris
is.
Carroll and somebody named David something. I don't know how to say.
Where did you find that?
I just.
Oh, Dave, that's Dave. Hey, Dave, congratulations on your
understand.
engagement. If you're still watching, Dave just got engaged.
That's cool.
Dave, about time. Okay.
Okay, so we were talking about still in self-defense, how you can use strike first, and instead of just reacting situations, how we have acted before, because that matters. Okay, so what else can you do to? I wrote down the 99 rule of self-defense, basically.
Ooh. Okay. That's a tough one. This is gonna turn into an NCAT seminar. So.
Well, it's relevant. We'll switch halfway. How do you
So
just
the
not-
99, using the 99 concept. So this concept, I guess, I haven't taught this in a while, so I can't remember how exactly I always do the wording on it, but
I think it's like if you have 10,000 situations.
yeah, it's
potential-
so it's about numbers, and it's about how we overcomplicate self-defense by looking at the shiny objects, looking at if the guy throws this punch, we would do this. If he throws a kick, we would do this. If he grabs, we would do this. And that is like such a small fraction of how you want to handle potentially violent situations. It's important, but first of all, you look at it like this. So you take 1,000 potential situations where you would be attacked. Okay. Well, first of all, you look at your position. Okay, where are those attacks likely to happen? Random attacks, people trying to jump at you and mug you.
Oh, dark alleyway.
Dark alleyway. Okay, so
seedy taverns.
don't go into seedy taverns or dark alleyways. Okay, so
Cave.
that takes away half of your, probably even more, half of your potential problems right there are gone when you make decisions on, being aware of where you are and not going in a place where you're going to find trouble. That takes away, you could say,
That you're supposed to do, I think, 90%.
99999. Yeah. So you got 1,000, and then you take away, that takes away 900 of them. So you got like 100. Did we do that? 1,000?
I think it's supposed to take away, and then it's supposed to go to 1,000.
Okay, we'll keep this.
You get
Okay,
the point.
so you got 10 of those situations, and let's say there's a 10,000 or whatever. Okay, and you take away.
You take away 9,000.
You take away 9,000 based on you're not going into seedy taverns, and you're not going into alleys at night.
And you're not hanging out with people that you know.
And you're not jogging at night in parks with lots of shrubbery and stuff like that.
Yeah, with your headphones on.
So yeah, with your headphones on, exactly. So
And
that takes away
blinders.
9 out of 10 of those potential things, right?
Yeah.
of that, and then you take those, and like a lot of those you can overcome by basically just having very confident body language, because most predators, like I said, when you look at a violent situation, it's a predator versus someone they perceive as prey.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, if someone's not perceived as prey, they're significantly less likely to be attacked by that predator.
Mm-hmm.
So that takes away,
So for less concentration.
pretty much focusing your eyes, focusing your body, focusing your ears, focusing your mind, right? So paying attention to your surroundings, looking confident, right?
Yeah.
So exactly. So if my body language is like this, okay, Miss Gibbons wants to harass someone, who's she gonna harass? Like this guy right here, right? Or this guy right here?
Now I'm scared.
Probably the first guy, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So body language has a lot to do with that. That'll take care of 90% of those issues right there. Okay, and then of those that are remaining, most of them are going to be taken out of position. So if my hands are down like this, and I'm not physically able to defend myself, I'm going to get sucker punched. If I keep proper positioning and my hands are up, right, now all I got to do is keep my hands here, and most people are right-handed. So you can expect they're going to throw that right-hand punch, okay?
And you use your words.
So, and and I use my words too. I ask my questions, right? What do you want? Do you need to leave? Back away? And I do that assertively. That's going to take away a lot of those, 9 out of 10 of those. So you just, you look at the odds, and we do that in our NCAT training, in our Niagara combative adrenal training. We cover that in more depth. So we're kind of skimming across it right now. We might not be doing a lot of justice, but in that training, in that seminar, the adrenal training, we go into more depth. But in every one of those cases, those were all pretty much strike first principles, right? Things that we decided on, we were being proactive about. They didn't just happen to us. We took control of those situations through our decisions.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I think that's pretty much all the martial questions I had. Anybody comment anything? I don't think so. Well, if the guy said AK, something for him. No.
Nope.
Okay, good. I think I get the point. All right, so in Cobra Kai, if you're gonna watch the show, I don't want to spoil it, but he tries to use strike first to talk to the girl.
Does it work? I don't know.
No, the inspirational music comes on, and he's like slowly trying to go up to her, and then the dude just comes and gets in his way.
I don't remember that. I have to watch it again.
And he's like, what are you doing? He's like, striking.
If you guys haven't watched, I'm sure everyone watching this or that will watch this has probably watched Cobra Kai by now. If you haven't, then go ahead and do it. But yeah, the interesting thing about it, I wrote an article on this probably a couple of years ago when the first Cobra Kai came out. But the Cobra Kai creed, like the strike first, continuous attack, strike first, strike hard, no mercy. These are the bad guy principles, but they map on like perfectly into praying mantis kung fu. With disclaimers though, so like not punching people out as soon as they give you any kind of lip. Striking hard, that's shake the foundation, as we say.
Minimum force.
Minimum force, but strike hard means shake the foundation, which we talk about. I don't know, Dave, if you're still watching, Dave is trained under Grandmaster Chow with me, so he knows that very well. And
that's next week's topic.
And then no mercy could be interpreted as continuous attack, meaning you don't stop until you've dealt with the attacker. Like you don't throw one punch and back up and see what happens so the person can come back at you. It doesn't mean you're being overly aggressive. It just means that you keep on moving to keep control of the situation, right? So yeah, but great show to watch for that. Some of those principles are applied really well in that show, some of them not so much, but it's very entertaining nonetheless.
So how can we use strike first in social interactions?
Like I talked about, just not waiting for people to talk. Asking questions is a great one. So learn how to ask people questions, right? And that makes people feel good. If you ask them questions about you, who is it was it Brian Tracy or Zig Ziglar said that everyone's favorite topic is themselves, right? So basically asking questions about the other person continually, right? You take control of that situation, but in a friendly way, it also makes them feel better about themselves because you're showing an interest. So that's important too, right? Instead of sitting down at dinner with someone and just kind of looking at your phone, right? And then kind of hoping that they, I don't know what you're hoping for, they either go away or they also ignore you. And
well, most people are pretty reactive, yeah?
Most people are pretty reactive, yeah.
So if you just choose to be proactive in social situations, you're probably like rise to the top 10 or 20% of social wizardness.
Yeah, and that's important too. Your networking is important for everything, for your business, for whatever work you're in, your relationships, cultivating good relationships. Like we say that you're the sum of the 5 people you interact with and associate with the most.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very important we cultivate good relationships. People we're gonna be around. In order to do that, we've got to be personal. We've got to be personable and friendly, and asking questions is a good way to do that.
Where I heard this, but people that like show self-respect, right? So like if you are gonna meet someone, tell them your name before you ask what their name is, right? Like if you say, hi, my name is
Mm-hmm.
so and so, then they're like, oh, that person is like, they like themselves. There's somebody that's supposed to be respected.
That's a good example too.
So
Yeah,
you like
by striking first.
you
Yeah.
just introduce yourself to someone friendly way, they automatically are more likely to like you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's a good point. I didn't hear that. I never heard that
I
before.
don't remember where I read that one. Okay, I think the next is how do we use it in day-to-day life for personal development, personal cultivation. Let's talk about the morning routine.
So this is the most important right now, and so you kind of, is that the last one or close to last? It's kind of like,
Well, everything is pretty much. I had a section on how we use it for teaching, but
okay. Well, I mean, if that was
yeah.
the last one, I was going to say you save the best for last, because that one right now is the most important. So strike, the way I usually teach strike first in classes is that all the other stuff we've talked about, but then how you start your day, okay? Because how you start your day is going to change the rest of the day drastically. If the morning is the rudder for the day, and how you steer it is going to control the rest of the day. Just like how you start a conversation off with someone politely by asking questions about themselves, you're going to steer that relationship. And if you don't, you might not steer it in a positive situation, in a direction, or it might, who knows, you're kind of leaving it up to chance. It's the same with our day. So, and especially right now, what people are doing is you get up in the morning, and you get on your phone and you read the news, or you put the news on TV, or you're finding the news on social media.
Check the COVID cases.
You check the COVID cases, right? Yeah, and it just puts you in this reaction mode, and that's it. And you're only thinking about the pandemic. You're not thinking about what you got to do for yourself. You're not thinking what you got to do for your family. You're thinking about everything is falling apart. And it's not helping you set in a positive direction. Yeah, those issues are there, right? But if you're inundated with them first thing in the morning, now your day is just shot. You're going to be going from one reaction to the next. You're going from, this is horrible, that's horrible, that's horrible, one horrible thing to the next, because you're in that reactive mode, right? And when you strike first properly in the morning, you're going to see, like, you put important things first, the important things you want to work on, that you want to develop, you put those first. That's going to steer your day in a much better direction. And there's ways to do that, too. So once you realize the importance of striking first in the morning, meaning not putting on the news, being reactive, but instead being proactive in what you want to accomplish for the day, you make that shift, then there's several techniques within that to strike first in the morning. So is that something you want to go over now, or?
Yeah. So why is it so important? Why the morning? Why can't I just look at the news and then do my morning routine?
So I've got this.
Trying to get in the building.
Yeah, go ahead. So I've got this. I'll talk at you, even though you're not here. Oh, I forgot what I was gonna say.
Do you remember what I asked? Oh, it's your father. We're doing a live video right now.
Let me just see. I'm just gonna do a quick
He
scroll.
needs the key to the furnace room.
I gave it to the guy already.
Oh. It's your dad.
I know.
Oh, there's a guy that has it. He's gone. Do you have another one?
Yeah, it's in the room over there. Okay.
Instructor room?
Yeah.
Change room?
Yep. Questions. No.
I could answer. Why are you laughing?
Okay, there's your microphone.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so we were talking about the strike first principle in the morning.
I said, why can't I watch the news?
Oh yeah, okay. So I have this thing. This is why, and this is. We were talking about this yesterday about the subconscious dump, right?
Yeah, why can't I just wake up and just like check my email, look at the news, eat some candy, and then do.
So what you're gonna find is we call this the subconscious dump, right? And I learned this from an author who is helping me write my book. In that when you wake up in the morning, and actually my dad taught me this too, that when you wake up in the morning, ideas will come to you. If you go to bed at night with a problem in your head, you'll notice that a lot of times when you wake up in the morning, the answer will come to you in the morning, right, after you've slept on it.
Mm-hmm.
And now, people would argue that they would say, well, yeah, because your subconscious mind is kind of working on these things for you at night, it spits it out in the morning. And I partially agree with that, but also partially disagree. I think your subconscious mind is working on bringing you solutions all the time. The difference is that we don't listen at any time during the day, right? We listen in the morning because we're just waking up. We're not fully conscious yet. We still have that more of that stronger connection to what's going on in there in the background, and we don't have those distractions in yet. Once you've got those distractions coming in, like the news, media, radio, all that garbage, once it comes in, it totally blurs that connection you had with the subconscious mind that's trying to offer you solutions to the things you need to work out. It's trying to offer you advice, and right away we drown it out with all the garbage that comes in from wherever, either social media or news media or whatever it is. It drowns it out. So when you're striking first, when you're taking this time for yourself and not being reactive right away first thing, you're letting those answers come forward, and they're going to help direct you for the rest of the day, right? If you strike first, and if you don't, we're just reacting, and then you react to everything else during the day. And if you're in a crummy mood because of that, your day is just, pretty much going to unfold however it unfolds with very little option on your part.
So what you're saying, when we wake up, we're closer to like a dream-like subconscious state, we're more in touch with it?
Yes.
So we can kind of get more pure our input without like other things coloring it?
Yeah, it's your intuition is there, right? But whenever you have an intuition, usually you have another, you have another stupid voice in your head. Maybe it's like a parent who told you to knock it off, stop dancing, don't sing in the shower, whatever. Like, you have that voice be like, no, that's a stupid idea. So you had your kind of true voice speaking to you, and then we have that other voice from somewhere else say, no, knock it off, don't believe in magic or anything like that, right? That kind of thing. So we have that stronger connection in the morning before our logical left brain comes in and doubts it and tells it to shut up.
So how has let's talk about a morning routine. So what it might look like. What does yours look like?
So first thing I do is I get up and I make my tea and feed the cat. Make tea, feed the cat.
Yeah, that's the
right?
only reactive thing I have to do in the morning.
Yeah, because the cat wakes you up and just
he waits with her nose in the door, so I open it every morning. It's like every morning. She doesn't meow though, not like your cat.
Okay, my cat will squawk right in my face until I get up. Now we've got each other trained to wake up, 6:30, and then the teapot goes on, and then if the cat's eating, then I sit down with my notebook. So every day starts with my notebook, right? And the notebook is just mapping out the day, writing down any ideas, and then I would anything that comes to me directly, and then I would do a quick meditation, which is two parts. The first part of meditation would be like an open meditation, and then I would do a purposeful meditation. So that's working on visualization, visualizing goals achieved, visualizing outcomes you want, doing affirmations and things like that. Yeah, and then after I do those affirmations, of course, I feel like I've programmed myself for a positive outcome for the day, right? And I think that's the other thing that people miss with affirmations, and that's why they don't work for people, is because they think
They use it reactively.
they use it
That was
reactively.
an
Exactly.
interesting thing from your book that I never heard from. People, they're like, oh, affirmations don't work, and then the only time they use it is like, it's like they sat on the couch and ate a whole bag of chips, and they're like, oh, this sucks. I'm gonna use an affirmation. I have healthy eating habits. I have healthy eating habits, and then they're like, oh no, I don't.
Yeah, that's
and
not
then
an
they quit.
affirmation. That's a lie.
Yeah.
That's like there's telling the truth in advance, and there's flat out lying.
Yeah,
When you're trying to use an affirmation reactively,
it won't work.
it doesn't work. It's like when you've just blown a whole bunch of money on something and you're broke and you're like, oh, I am wealthy. Well, that's not going to work. You're lying, right? The difference is the affirmation is designed to kind of program your belief about yourself, and that belief will gradually change your reactions and decisions on things, because you're not going to be you want to be congruent with that person that you've programmed yourself to be with your self-image, right? And that doesn't work as a reaction. It only works proactively.
I just thought of this. So the reactive thing you could do is say, like the email here. That's not like you. That's not like me.
That's another. That's a
You
good,
could use that reactively.
Yeah.
But not the I am statement.
But yeah, every time I agree. Every time I hear someone say that, the affirmations
Positive
don't work.
thinking doesn't work.
It's because you're using it reactively. You're not using it proactively, right?
Yeah, so you got to start on a blank slate, basically.
Yes.
In the morning when you have a blank slate.
Yeah.
Okay, so how much time do you need to have a proactive morning routine? How much time does somebody need to do that?
I don't want to give that time, because what you'll do if I say an hour, people are going to be like, whatever, never going to do that, crazy man. As soon as I get up, all this stuff's happening, phone's ringing, blah blah blah. The time is not as important as the habit. So just like when we start doing kung fu, okay? So if you guys haven't heard this story before, you maybe know this, but if not, when someone starts kung fu, a lot of times they get really excited because they're doing something new, and they've got a new uniform, and they've got new shoes, and they're all ready to go, and they're like, this is going to be awesome, I'm going to be, like Jackie Chan, and I'm going to move my coffee table, and I'm going to change my house around so I can train in my living room for like an hour a day, and this is going to be a new thing. And whenever I hear them say that, I just kind of go, stop, no, don't do that, because you'll only do that once or twice, and then you'll never do it again, right? Because everyone does it. They get excited about buying something new, like, yeah, I got this treadmill, I'm going to put it in my living room, and every time I watch TV now, I'll do it on the treadmill, and it's going to change my life. And then they do it for like 1 hour, one time. And then after that, if you go to see their treadmill, it's usually laundry's hanging on it, right? And then it becomes, well, I want to use it, but there's laundry on it, and I don't want to fold laundry up right now, so I'll just sit down and watch the TV as per the usual, right, is what happens, because they took on this, big mighty task they were going to do, but after the initial excitement of buying something new wears off, well, then they have nothing, right? So more important than that time is the habit. So what I would suggest doing is, so when you ask how much time do you need, it's more about how much time do you need to start striking first as a habit. So if you're going to make striking first your morning, meaning planning out your morning, with your quiet few moments with a pot of tea and your notebook and then your meditation, if you're going to make that a habit, start off with like only 5 minutes, right? And I would say that do 5 minutes of just like basically tea, calm 5 minutes, planning on your notebook, just sketching on your to-do list or doing a quick meditation, 5 minutes every day. And if you can get that done for 2 weeks, then increase it to 10 minutes. And if you do that for another 2 weeks, then increase it to 20 minutes, right? But the habit is more important than the time. But even, half hour would work, no problem. But if you tell yourself, oh, I watched this, podcast, and I'm going to do even better. I'm going to do a whole hour. Remember, you're probably only going to do you're going to do that maybe one time, and then the willpower isn't going to be there after 3 or 4 days to do it. So just do 5 minutes, but it has to be consistently. And 5 minutes consistently is way better than doing 1 hour.
We're going to talk about that in 2 weeks.
Once or twice.
Continuous attack.
Oh, okay, good. Okay, so I'll leave that for now. I won't get too much into that. But yeah, short answer, half an hour is fine. Longer answer, start with 5 minutes.
All right. So have you ever, since none of us are superhuman, have you ever not used your morning routine? And what does that look like? Obviously.
Yeah, when I want to have a really crappy day,
have a really bad day.
and I want to, when I want to have a crappy day and blame everyone else for my problems, then I will not strike first in the morning. I'll get up, I'll put on the news right away, or I'll like whatever, news, Facebook, YouTube, COVID cases. I'll do that first thing in the morning, and I'll even skip the tea. Sometimes if I have something really, really early to do, this morning was a close call. I had to get here in the morning to meet the guy to fix the furnace in the back, so I had to leave a little bit earlier. But I still managed to get in my little planning time and tea and meditation, stuff like that. But sometimes days like that, where I'm like, oh no, I gotta start early, and I can't. Those usually end up being bad days because things are just not within my control at all, right?
Yeah.
And it usually sucks. And at the end of the day, I'm like, oh, why was it such a bad day? Well, I didn't strike first. I kind of just got up, listened to the news, and it put me in a crappy mood, and that conducted the rest of my day. But people are telling me, since actually our last podcast, a couple people told me that they put it on and they just felt a little more motivated to get up in the morning, and that affected the rest of the day. I'm like, well, yeah, I thought that was, I don't know, maybe it's more common knowledge for us.
Yeah, some of the people that have read the draft of your book have also been saying that as well.
That
they want to get up earlier now.
Yeah, and it makes a big difference. Not just the getting up early, but how you get up early, right?
Heather's been getting up earlier, so now I have to get up even earlier to have my own.
Oh wow, Swift got up early. Wow, impressive. Okay, good. Okay, what's next?
So, well, kind of going back to programming, because we get the privilege of doing that for our job, right? As instructors, it's not just teaching a physical application, but also shaping young minds of children that are very transparent. They can't really hide what they're thinking as well. They're very raw, and so you can see like the direct effect of how you talk to them and how their parents talk to them and how others talk to them, and how we can use strike first to set somebody up for success or failure. How you might use this as a parent or even with students of any age, really. So like the pre-framing kind of thing.
Yeah. There's people you don't realize how much effect you have on kids when you're teaching them, and how, I don't want to just say that they're sensitive, but there's a reason, there's a method behind this. Okay, so this in Psycho-Cybernetics, which is a book we read in our intermediate program. Psycho-Cybernetics is an awesome, and I think Maxwell Maltz actually quotes another author in this, and I can't remember who it is, but basically says that when we have these built up layers of trauma and problems with our self-image, right? When we think of ourselves as, stupid or broke or whatever it is, those negative patterns in our self-image are brought on by three things, right? They're brought on by an authoritative source. Mm-hmm. They're brought on by emotion, anchoring those themes in, and then repetition. Mm-hmm. Okay, so for example, a father saying to you, you're worthless and stupid. Okay, well, just saying it would be one thing, but say when you mess up in front of your friends, and then the father says, you're stupid in front of your friends, it makes it much more emotional. Now, if that happens again and again, that's going to be anchored into the subconscious mind, right? Now, that can be undone, but a lot of times we have self-image issues. They come from early experience. And I'm not talking about, they're coming from your parents, so blame your parents. I'm not saying that. I'm saying they come from earlier experience, and they typically come from authoritative sources. That doesn't always mean parents, though, because again, the news can be an authoritative source. You see a talking head on the news telling you what to think and how to feel, that's an authoritative source. You watch it every day, that's an authoritative source, and it's repeated. They do it in a way that scares you, that's the emotion, right? So
the music.
That's kind of the theme with what's going on right now, too, right? You got to realize that a lot of the stuff that we're thinking right now is being affected by authoritative sources, by the emotion, and by the repetition. It has an effect on our rational thinking, right? But when it comes to kids, though, and sorry, a little off topic, but when it comes to kids, it's the same thing. You don't want to be just reactive about it. You want to be proactive. So the same with people who really suck at using affirmations because they only use them reactively. Right? When things are bad, you just close your eyes and say, no, things are great. Well, no, you're lying. If you're treating a kid, you're teaching a kid, and at the end of the class you try to just be like, oh, you're really good job, pat them on the back. Well, that might not have a positive effect that you think it will if you're not reinforcing that with repetition with emotion as an authoritative source, right? So when we're working with kids, we're trying to bring their confidence up all the time. We're trying to do that through the experience, but also through, you know, those same thing, and make it emotional for them, right? When you're affirming it to them, when you're saying, yeah, look how strong you are, right? You're an authority for one, but you got to be repeated, and you've got to make them feel that emotion too. So like with board breaking, when a kid breaks a board and all the peers are there and clapping, that's a very emotional experience. So it's going to anchor that confidence in for that child, right?
I read somewhere they're like programmed to respond to clapping.
To clap.
Somebody claps, you automatically feel.
Well, it's been there for all our lives.
I think it might be a subconscious thing.
We get clap.
Like
Yeah.
like a archetype thing or something.
I don't know.
Like ancestral.
Do you guys are? Where did you go to see who was watching?
Oh, you went over there.
Oh, I went over there. Okay.
Yeah, I just saw.
I was wondering.
Yeah, Lily's still coming to class. Although I think she's.
Cool. Hey, Kurt. Yes, she's been coming to class. Any other questions you guys got? Feel free, if you're watching, feel free to chime in. Did I cover that?
Yeah, I think so.
Ish?
Yeah, so how can. Yeah, I think you pretty much covered that. I was going to talk
Oh,
about.
I was going to say something with teachers too, though, is that we've got to be really careful with the labeling that we do, because that passes on too. That's kind of a negative affirmation, right? And it affects our how we treat kids as well. So striking first is also kind of like we've got to program our affirmation for teaching kids. So there was one was this in Psychology or Winning? There was one study. There was one event it was at a university or college or something where they had two professors. And they were taking, if I remember the book,
One was taking like all like A students.
they were taking all the A students. One professor thought he had all the A students. One professor thought he had all the C students, right?
Oh, troubled.
Told the professor, okay, you're getting the A students. They should all, knock it out of the park. You're getting the C students. They're going to be a handful, okay? And then through some computer glitch, the professors stayed in the rooms they were at, but the kids got switched. So the professor that thought he was getting the A students got the C students, and the one who thought he was getting the C students got the A students. And the results were, basically, throughout the semester, whatever it was, the results switched. All the A students dropped down in their grade, and the C students went up in their grade. Because the teacher's expectation. Whenever the teacher, the A students, who he thought were C students, like, you guys should get this. And if they weren't getting it, the teacher's like, well, I must not be explaining it enough. That's why they're not getting it. These are A students. So if they're not getting it, I must be doing something wrong. And then he would focus more on trying to get them to understand it so he can bring the grades up. Meanwhile, on the other side, the professor who had all the A students, who he thought were C students, right? He would just think, well, you guys aren't going to get it anyway, so I'll just throw the material out and you're probably going to flunk at it anyway. He had that belief system, so he wasn't really trying as hard. Anytime there was an issue and they weren't getting it, he was like, well, that's just you guys. You're just the C students. So he saw them as the problem. So the methodology, the teachers obviously brought out different results for the students because they had this label already on the students. So we've got to be careful that, when you're teaching, we do our best for every kid, but if you have that in your brain, well, that kid's he needs a little extra time on everything, he's not going to get it. When you have that label on it, you're not going to do everything you can do as a teacher to help that kid through, right?
Or
so
maybe use it to do something positive, but if you're just about it, then because you could say that I know that kid's going to need extra help, so I'm going to go out of my way for extra help. But if you say that kid's gonna be obnoxious no matter what I do, then it's like you won't even try, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. You won't even try. And then what also happens too, and I know we teachers have stressful jobs and stuff, but then sometimes if we're not careful, what we do is communicate that your feeling of that, your limiting belief on that kid to another teacher before they even had that experience, and they would be like, oh yeah, that's right, I've heard about this kid, they're the ones that can't do this or that, and then they have their perspective already altered, and they have a bias there that they won't do what they need to do because of that bias. So I think that striking the opposite of that. Striking first would be, you know, not doing that, but trying to reprogram that image of that child for yourself, right? Having higher hopes for them too.
Yeah. I was just looking through the gold team thing, and we had written down like, you really don't have.
You want,
I know. I think it's the phone because they can hear me from the phone, so I'll try to speak a little louder.
Oh yeah, over there. That's right. Okay.
You don't have any business teaching a student that you don't like, and you don't have any business teaching a student that you don't believe in. So you have to find a way to like and believe in every student, even if not every student clicks with you.
Yeah.
And you have to do it proactively, right? So if you just wait for them to do something that you like or show potential, it may never happen. But you have to create it yourself as an instructor.
That's a fun part of teaching.
Yeah.
Because we teach our so when we have a new instructor start, we typically teach them because when younger students start, not all the time, but sometimes when young students start helping to teach, they get this
I'm a dictator
you
now.
know, they turn into little dictators for a little bit, right? It's kind of funny.
You're gonna do what I
But
say.
Things
about to change.
It's okay. It's not a bad thing. It's the thing. It's inevitable, and eventually they're gonna get over it. But they start with this yeah, that's right. You got to do what I tell you to do now, right? And then they overcome it. That's funny. But to overcome that, we have a new instructor in training do is all they're allowed to do is compliment the students just to build rapport. That's it. They have to find something they're doing well, and they have to spotlight them on that thing, right? Just to overcompensate for their wanting to be yeah, I'm in charge now. I tell you that's wrong, and fix that, right? To overcompensate, we say, no, all you can do is tell them what they're doing well. Now, you don't lie. You don't say, that's a great stance. If it's not a great stance, you can't do that. You have to be honest. So sometimes it's such a challenge to find if there's, one child that's really having a bad day and they're rolling around on the ground in a tantrum.
You got your uniform on.
It's yeah, good job wearing your uniform. They gotta really try to find something they're doing well, and then building up from there. Again, you have to find the positive thing in everything, and that helps you as well as an instructor. Because when you've had maybe a crummy day, you've got to pick up yourself and you've got to strike first mentally. And be like, okay, well, what's going good right now? And when you focus on one positive aspect and one thing that someone's doing well, what you focus on expands, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you focus on the negative, you're just going to get much more of the negative. So focus on the one positive thing, you'll start to feel a little bit better, people will respond better to you, and then you'll start to see more positive things happen as a result, right? But there's that chain reaction all the time. You're in a bad mood, you're going to, you're going to have negative actions even on a subconscious level. People are going to respond negatively, putting you in a worse mood, putting them in a worse mood. Or you can have the flip side of that where you're in a good mood and you're going to bring up the room. That's what the book was all about, right? Do You Like Tea was about shaping your environment with your influence, right? And striking first means taking control of that chain of events, right? If you act more positive and affect positive change in other people, it'll come back to you, and that's going to help you more positive in turn. So it's going to cycle. It's either going to spiral up or spiral down. Striking first means you're going to control it to spiral up in a positive direction.
We talked about that in class yesterday.
Yeah.
We talked about accountability and the circle of influence and the circle of things you care about from 7 Habits.
Yeah.
So your circle of things you care about is usually, for most people, is bigger than the things that you have control over. So the more you focus on what you can control, the more that inner circle grows and you have more influence. The more you focus outside of the circle on things you can't control, then your circle of influence shrinks.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good
I forgot about it. I just remembered it during the math chat yesterday.
Yeah, that helps a lot
That's a
when it comes to that accountability thing. Because that accountability thing is hard to discuss for
We're not going to have time to go into
Yeah,
that today. We'll do that.
That's a whole other thing to get into. Accountability is always a fun topic. Okay, well.
It's been an hour.
It has been an hour already?
Yeah, I think.
Okay.
With
Well
some
then.
interruptions, but who cares?
If it's, yeah. Well, that's all we got for today, guys. But that's striking first. And if you guys want to join us for some classes to find out what we're talking about and see how we put this stuff into practice, not only philosophically but in Kung Fu as well. I'll put a link below for our 2-week trial, either for kids or adults or families. And then, what else did I want to mention? If you're watching remotely, you can also join us on our Zoom classes through visiting holistickungfu.net. I'll put the link in the bottom there as well. Okay? How do I? Oh, I got to sign off over there on the camera. All right, so I'm on the wrong thing altogether. I got to walk over there. It's going to be anticlimactic. You want to do a little bit of a dance on the way out? All right. Hit the button.
Finish.
Okay, guys.
Start.
Thanks.
Finish.